Hi everybody, my name is Michael Brown. I'm the CEO at Swept, and I'm here today to talk to you about time management tricks for janitorial business owners. So I know all about this because I used to own a cleaning company. We started in one city, built it, went to a second, then went to a third. And one of the things that really bothered me as I was running that company was not being in control of my day. I'd wake up in the morning and have a plan, and sometimes I didn't even have a plan, but regardless, things would always derail me. I'd get an email from an upset customer. I would have someone needing me to drop off supplies or do an inspection. I did not own my day. And what I found was it was very stressful. It was impacting not just my business, but my personal life. So I hired a business coach. And his name is Dan Martell. You can see him at danmartell.com. He has a huge background in business. You see here in the image, working with Richard Branson, spending time with him. But Dan helped me understand, basic time management tactics that allowed me to block time, allowed me to not multitask, and allowed me to really move the needle in my business. And I've worked with some of our clients on this, one-on-one, and they're seeing results. So I thought it would be a great idea to put this together and share it with you so that you can start to get control of your day again. So going to go through this, love your feedback, but really hoping that this makes a massive impact in your day-to-day as you're running your business. So I'm going to start off with a couple quotes here. And one is, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. And so what that means is if you don't have a plan, then you set out, are you going to double the sales in your company this year, or are you just going to grow? It's understanding what you're looking for, setting that path, and going for it.
So I'm sure some of you have felt like that. The other is discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. So just in the fact that you're showing up to this, that you want to take part in something that's going to make your life easier and help you grow your business and make you feel better, this is part of the discipline. I'm going to share things with you today that I learned, that I consistently do it, and it makes huge gains in my business and in my personal life. But it's not easy. I have friends that say, oh, it must be nice to travel the world and do this and speak at these conferences and do all these things. It's like, yeah, but I also miss out on certain things in life that they get to do, but I'm disciplined. And so I feel that now I get to live a life, and even when I was running my cleaning company, when I was going through these coaching sessions, I was doing this, I get to live a life that other people wanted to have, because I was doing certain things. I was disciplined and doing things that they didn't want to do. It wasn't the easiest path to take, but it, for me, created the best reward. And the biggest one is either you run the day or the day will run you. And I have to tell you, when I was running my cleaning company, the day ran me far too many times early on, and it was very frustrating. Going home at the end of the day exhausted and not knowing, like, what did I actually accomplish? So first off, I'm going to share with you about multitasking. So multitasking is something that I used to feel that I was really good at. I used to pride myself on, on balancing, HR today and, marketing and this and this, and, bouncing around all over the place, taking care of things. But there's a major cost to multitasking, and it's called a switching cost. And I'm going to take you through a quick exercise so you can get a sense of what that looks like. But imagine for a moment that each of these icons on the screen represents about 15 minutes of time. And they're going to fall into this chart. So let's just say that this is the morning. And you have to do 4 of these activities to actually complete it. So you start off with a little bit of HR. Let's say you're going to hire a cleaner. So let's say it takes an hour to do the task in total, just again for this basic example. So you've done a 15-minute block, and then someone calls to do a quote. So you stop doing the HR and you start, taking the number from the potential client and writing down some details and all the rest, putting in your schedule when you're going to go do that quote. Then someone comes up to you and says, payroll's coming up at the end of the week. We're looking for some hours. We need to figure out where this is landing. So you work on that for a few minutes. You jump in your email to get the information maybe on the cleaners who is working when and where. Now you're in your email and you see something that's going on. There's a fire that you got to put out. There's a client complaint. Someone's not showing up. Something's going on. And as you go through your morning, all of these little things come back up. So you get some requests for some supplies, then you now have time to go back to HR and start creating a job posting, switch out. And so again, this is just a basic example, but at the end of this, if you need 4, count them up, what have you done here that you've actually completed the task? I can see there's 3 payrolls. I don't know if anything was actually complete. There's 4 HRs actually. There's 1 on the top, 1 in each row. But if you were to block your time, and this is the discipline, if you were to set blocks of time in your calendar where you give yourself permission to work on one thing and nothing else, you'd create that job posting, you'd launch it online, and you'd pay for the advertising, and that would be complete. You would do the quote, whatever the task is, you get out, you complete it, and it would be finalized. You'd get the supplies, you'd find out exactly what you need, you'd make your order, and you'd be able to move on. You do your payroll, you'd set up your direct deposit, and it'd be done. Again, this is just a very basic example, but it's the exact same amount of blocks of time here as it is in this one. And this is one morning, you're getting 1 activity done, and then this morning you're getting 4. That basic concept shifted the way I scheduled meetings. It shifted the way I did everything in my day-to-day, and it's really the building blocks to what I'm going to share with you next, which is blocking time. So thinking back to that quote, any path, if you don't have a correct path, any road will get you there. This is what it means to block time. You set up what's called big rocks, and each month you'll have, or each quarter, so you'll have about 3. So these are the big goals you're going to take on. Let's just say for a second that 1 is going to be around HR. You're going to hire on a supervisor and train them and get them up to speed to take some stuff off your plate. Maybe you're going to bring on a salesperson, and you know that when you hire that salesperson, you have to onboard them correctly, you have to teach them about your business, you have to do all these things. You don't only get to just find them and hire them, but you get to train them and get them ready to go out and start taking quotes and winning work for you. Maybe it's going to be around cleaner retention. But whatever it is, you create these 2 to 3 big goals per quarter, and then you start blocking your time. And so I want you for a second right now, think, if you gave yourself permission to actually work on your business and not in your business, and not be consumed with a bunch of tasks, what are 2 or 3 really big things that you want to do this quarter? And let's just say between now and the end of the year. So come January 1st, what have you accomplished in your business? And this doesn't matter if you're a business owner, if you're a manager or supervisor at the business, it doesn't matter. You have a role, you're on this call, you have a role in the business that you can make a real impact. What is it that you want to do? We had one client who I was doing some one-on-one calls like this, and she set up her direct deposit. And she shared with me that, she had a number of cleaners and she was doing this manual payroll. She started working with Swept. It was great. She had her time tracking. She collected this, but then she was still doing manual checks. She was writing out checks. And so the reason why, she didn't really give herself permission to stop, for an hour, a couple times a week and actually get payroll set up, get it set up so that it was direct deposit. And so after the first week, she called me. I challenged her, like I'll challenge you, to book 1 hour a day where you focus on that goal. And within the first week, she called me up. She said, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe it's been years. I gave myself space and I have direct deposit set up." So now she's going to save hours every 2-week period. This is exactly the exact same experience I had. I was running around and I wasn't able to really take control of things because I didn't allow myself the permission to being busy isn't good enough. It's not efficient. And so I was very busy and I wore it like a badge of honor, but setting these goals and then blocking out some time in your calendar will let you achieve them. So for me, my big rocks for the past 3 months were I wanted to double our client base at Swept, which is pretty crazy. And we did it. Very, very exciting. So that was one. And the other was I wanted to raise a round of investment because in the business that I'm in, creating software, there's, it's very capital intensive. And so we closed a round of investment. We brought on some really strong investors from Silicon Valley, all the rest. So these were my the reason why I'm sharing this with you is I'm going to show you what my day looks like, and so you can understand like how deep ingrained you set these goals, what it can do for you, and how you have to start thinking about your day. So the next is focus filters. So I want you to take a moment, grab a pen and paper, and I want you to create a list of all the things you need to do. So this is going to be a list, and you can start creating this as soon as you hear me. And I really don't just listen to this and think, okay, well, I'll think about my list. Write it out right now. I don't care if you have to leave the room for 15 seconds to grab a pen and paper. This is a very important exercise. So right now, think about everything you need to do today. Think about what you need to do this week, this month. What are the things that you have in front of you at the company? Your company right now, what do you have to do? So just start writing those out. This could be, and I'll be talking as you're writing them out, but giving you some ideas. It might be something to do with accounting. It might be something to do with insurance. It could be something to do with workers' compensation. It could be something to do with hiring cleaners. What are all the things you need to do for training supervisors? Contracts. Maybe you're going to be doing some sales. Do you have any clients that are upset with you? Any that are happy with you that you still want to follow up with? Inspections. So start writing these down. And at this time you should probably have a really big list of items that you have to work on. I'll just give you a couple more seconds. I'm going to grab a drink of water. Now, I want you to take a look at this list and think about this for a moment. What did you just write down? And hopefully you wrote something down, but if not, maybe it's in your mind. What did you write down as your goal for the next quarter? And look at all the items that you have on your list for the focus filters, of all the things that the company's depending on you for. And how many of them actually line up at moving you closer to achieving that goal. I can tell you when I wrote this, when my coach took me through this, I wrote down so many things. I wrote down, it was very clear how much was on my plate. And at the end of it, I looked, in a very small percentage was actually going towards my goals. Now, if I was to do this now, just to give you an idea, when I set my big rocks, when I set my goals for the quarter, if I was to write down everything that I have in front of me, it's amazing at how many things actually line up with me achieving my goals. Because I wasn't keeping busy. I wore being busy as a badge of honor. It was really one of those things that, if you need to get a hold of me 24/7, you could. If you could depend on me for anything, except for actually growing my company in the early days, and that's because I was just so busy. So now what I want to share with you is the Entrepreneurial Scorecard. This is how I started lining up my tasks. So if you were to take your list from your focus filters, and this is why it's important to write this stuff down, if you were to take your list and start looking, which items fell into the $10 an hour. So you can see admin work is 10. Again, we're just terming this just for this exercise, $10 an hour. The work in the business is $100 an hour. Management time is $500 an hour. Strategy is $5,000 an hour. So I viewed strategy as strategic planning, creating new revenue streams, meeting with my mentors and my coaches. Those were, if I spent a half hour with my coach, if I spent a half hour, an hour with my business partner, creating new ways for us to generate revenue and actually focusing on strategy, that's a $5,000 hour. And in fact, what I realized when I went through this process the first time, I was spending very, very little time at the $5,000 hour. I was spending a ton of time in the $10 an hour. So I was doing a lot of email, a lot of travel details, scheduling. I was doing all of these things that I now have a virtual assistant who saves me all the time who takes care of a lot of these things. And it's not that I value her any differently. This is just looking at, as a business owner, we have to be growing the business. We have to be, working on strategy and not just doing the day-to-day. It takes all different people to be building the business, and the more time you spend on the admin, the less time that you're spending on strategy and growing your company, and you're just consistently putting out fires. So this is why people talk about, working, as you see, in the business or on the business. So people talk about this a lot, and sometimes it's really difficult. How do you start to separate yourself out from that? And for me, one big thing was having a virtual assistant. A virtual assistant is someone we have. Her name is Tara. We also have Justine, and they live in completely different states. They could live anywhere they want in the world. They help with the administrative things. So that pulls those things off my plate. It allows me to create more space. And again, it's a really, I've spoken to a number of business owners. It's about giving yourself permission. When you put your phone down today to join on this session, there's guaranteed you're going to get there. There's going to be emails. There's going to be people looking for you. There's people who need you. Right now, I have the exact same thing. My phone is turned off. It's on mute and it's upside down, so the screen is not facing me, so I cannot see who's emailing me. And you know why? Because I'm here with you. And so I've given myself permission to be here. I hope you are not answering emails and doing things. You're giving yourself permission to be here. And that is the blocking of time that you have to create for yourself. So I'm going to share with you my perfect day. And I want you to think about what your perfect day would look like. And I'm going to show you my actual day, because there's a reality here. But at 7:30 in the morning, I wake up. People say that there should be, you wake up and you have some kind of ritual where you shouldn't jump straight into work. Personally, I found when I was running my cleaning company, and even now running a software company, I like to know what's going on. So I personally read the news and go straight into my email and check for fires. It actually, I find, decreases my stress. If there's something that's going on, I can quickly delegate it to somebody else, and then I go back to my day. I have breakfast with my wife, Joanne. I review my emails and I delegate to my VA. So before I even make it to the office, I open up my email, and there's anything that I want Tara to work on or Justine, I just hit forward, and I forward them everything for them to work on. This is if someone wants to have a meeting with me, maybe there's someone who wants to partner up, or maybe it's a client or something going on that I need to have a discussion with them. I just forward everything over to my VA, and they start taking charge. So think about this for a moment. The time that is saved, if someone emails you and says, hey, let's set up a meeting, you respond, okay, that's great. When do you want to meet? Then they write you back and say, how about next Thursday? And you go back and forth so many times. It's a waste of time. It is a $10 an hour task. It's definitely not a $5,000 an hour strategy session. So I would remove as much as I could. And one way to look at your inbox is it is not everyone else's to-do list, because that's what happens with inboxes. Someone sends you an email and they have the expectation that you're going to action it, you're going to do something right now. And you all know how many emails you get. I get a ton of them as well. If all we did was answer emails and respond, you could show up at the office, you could stay in bed, you could just reply to emails all day long and you get nothing done. So you need to have some kind of trigger that says, here's who I'm going to send this stuff off to that they can deal with it. Here are the things I'm going to ignore or deal with later. And then give yourself permission to hop in, meetings and different, block time and actually focus on achieving your goal. Because I can pretty much guarantee you answering every email in your inbox is not one of your big rocks that you have for this quarter. I'm assuming it's around growth or around cleaner retention or something else. It's probably not on answering all your emails. So don't spend your time doing that. At 9 o'clock, I would connect with my team. We'd have a quick meeting. And I would block my time in 3 blocks a day. So 1 block would be growth. So I would focus on growth for about 1.5 hours every day. So I wanted to double my sales. I have to focus on growth. The other is funding. So I have a quick recharge session for 15 minutes. I'd grab some water. I'd walk around the office. I'm terrible for being the type of person who sits down and does nothing except for work and not stand up. So I'd actually put in my calendar, recharge. Then I'd go into funding. And I'd spend an hour and a half. This is reaching out to investors, potential investors. This is looking at other companies who can introduce me to an investor. Like, this is doing that work, right? Things don't just show up to you. You have to do that work. But if every time I tried to focus on growth or focus on funding, I was answering calls or answering emails, I wasn't really moving the needle. So I had to block that time. Then I would review my emails and delegate to my VA. So I'd have lunch for a half hour. I'd say lunch and learn because I usually watch a TED Talk. I'd do something like that. Sometimes I'd throw in Netflix and just zone out because I've been so in depth in my company for all morning. I would not want to learn anything. I'd want to listen to music. I'd do anything, and then I'd jump back in. I delegate things out to my virtual assistant. I set up my calls and meetings in the afternoon. So interestingly, I remember when I first started in business, anytime someone wanted to call me, they could. Anytime a client wanted to call, anytime, anything was going on, it's like, sure, call me. What happened was I started looking, I went back and looked. I could see that I was taking a call, say at 8:30, and I'd be on a call for 20 minutes, and then I'd have 10 minutes of work, and then I'd be on another call, and I'd work, and then I'd have another 25 minutes, and I'd be on another call. My day was so broken up with phone calls, I wasn't getting anything done. So I'm going home exhausted at the end of the night, feeling like I accomplished a lot, and really, I didn't. So now, if someone has a call with me, it's very clear I take a couple calls a day, if that. Some days I do none, and there's other days where I have to. The name of the game is I have to be taking more calls, but I might block a time for calls as 3 hours, and I have Tara, my virtual assistant, put all my calls in that time frame. And it means I can be productive on those calls, and I can be productive outside of those calls. So then I'd focus on leadership and HR. So very important for me to be focusing on leadership in my company, making sure everyone knows what's expected of them, making sure that they realize what they're doing each day is actually rolling up to the greater good of the company. It's about engagement. So I focused on engagement with my cleaners. We were in 3 cities, and our turnover was 10% annually. That's because we focus on our cleaners. We do the same thing with our employees now as a software company. We focus on them. We make sure that they're heard, they know what's going on, and they see what they're doing each day is actually having a positive impact. Then admin to close out the day. So the last section of my day, I would be focused on digging through those emails. What else is there that needs my attention? What's amazing is after a few days of this, you start seeing the emails you didn't answer, you didn't respond to, you didn't read. Why? Because they weren't that important. They weren't in line with your goal. Doesn't mean you don't care. It just means you have other things that are more urgent and more necessary for you to focus on. Like, it's hard to believe, but people contacting us, people trying to get a piece of our time, are not doing it intentionally, but they're really harming the way we grow our businesses. Then I have family time at the end of the day, and then I plan for the next day. So I have 3 to 4 hours every night with my family. We have a new baby, which is amazing, and I want to have time for my daughter. And so I look at what I can complete. I'm telling you right now, I used to work, sometimes till 1, 2, 3 in the morning. I was ridiculous before I met my wife, what I was doing. I work much shorter days, and I accomplish a lot more because of the way I block my time. And before I go to bed, I always read and study and try to learn something before I go to sleep. So this is what my perfect day looks like in my Google Calendar. Just so I've run it through. These blocks are in my calendar. So I have a block for admin. I have a block for growth. I have a block for lunch. I have an email block. I have a block for investment. I go back to another block for growth. These have been the ways I've been running my days: email, family time, and planning for the next day. So what I want to show you now because it's easy for me to say this. I want to show you what my actual day is. I'm going to show you today. So not so perfect. Still had breakfast with Joanne. Travel for the, I'm in Toronto right now, so we have an office up here. So I travel in, do the high performance mindset coaching call, a marketing meeting, then I have a meeting with someone else, an investor. I have another high performance mindset coaching call. I have another contact. Then I have to travel. Got 2 meetings. So like my day is not focused on growth. As you can see, it is not focused on growth. It's more investor and client facing, through these webinars today. And that's okay, but it's still blocked. I will still accomplish family time. I had, and I'm executing on these other items that are very, very important. The way I see it is, if I didn't have this initial day here set up this way, my calendar would just get overrun with many, many things. And it'd be every day. Yesterday I had an amazing session on growth. Last week, my business partner and I had an offsite for the entire day. We gave ourselves permission to create strategy, create time for strategy. So my final thoughts on this is, either you run the day or the day will run you. And it's very clear, like your calendar will fill up. If you start scheduling and start the active scheduling, it's not easy. Like it could take you 6 months, but that is the discipline you need to start working towards that direction. So start with important things and the rest will take care of itself. If you know what your goals are, and I really encourage you to write down your goals. It seems like such basic stuff, but I'm telling you right now, if you write down your goals and pick one thing that you want to do over the next 3 months in your business, something that's big, maybe it's increasing sales by a certain percentage or whatever the case is, put that out there. Think about that in the morning and think about it at night. And think about what you did during the day. Do it like a focus filter, at the end of the day, just in your own mind, like, how many things did you actually do today that moved you one step closer? You will see during the day, you'll start thinking, what am I doing? This is not going to help me with sales. This is not going to help me find the salesperson. I'm not putting any time towards this. This is not going to help me communicate with my cleaners and engage them. Like I'm losing cleaners because I'm not doing the right things. Whatever your goals are, you will see if you stick with the important things, the rest will just take care of itself. And don't let your inbox be everyone else's to-do list. So I want to share with you one thing. It's called revenue block time. And you may be thinking, okay, Mike, I'm going to block 1 hour a day for something. I know a lot of times companies, it's really around revenue, it's around growth. What are you going to do in that hour session? So you've given yourself permission every day from 9 o'clock until 10 o'clock, you're going to work on how to generate more revenue. So one thing that I still go back to this is, how can you start structuring your meeting? So how can you sell more to existing customers? Okay, so think about this. Think of all of your current clients. How can you sell more? And it's not just how can you, like what can you do to add more value to them, right? So maybe you're going to offer a weekend cleaning or an extra hour midweek. This is something that we did. We went out to all of our clients and we looked at a number of them who were not getting weekend cleanings. They were getting, a Tuesday and a Thursday cleaning. And I'd say, I'd write them an email, I'd follow up with a call, and I'd say, hey, I can see here, like a lot of our clients love getting a weekend clean. They come in on Monday. Can I offer a 2.5 hour, 3 hour cleaning for you? And not everyone takes it, but a few of them do. So as crazy as this sounds, if you start, this is what that 1 hour block is about. You write this out. How can you sell more to existing customers? Maybe it's saying, hey, we're in every Wednesday for 2 hours. It'd be great if we could stay for 3 hours because here's a few of the extra things that we can do for you to make it cleaner for your staff, to make it easier for you guys to be running your business. Here's what we'd like to do. Again, not everyone's going to do this, but if you called all of your clients, and I mean sitting down, making a plan, and then going out as a strategy of how to increase your revenue, and start calling people, you will sell more work. Like you just will. Increase the price of what you're selling. So it's difficult to do this going out to your existing customers and charging more because they're thinking like, why are you charging me more? What has changed? But you can start increasing the price of what you're selling when you are all swept clients. So we're seeing this very clearly from our clients who've been working with us for a while, is they go out and they command a higher price. So I don't know your market. Some places are charging $25 an hour, some are $30, some are $50 an hour, depending on what city they're in. But they're going out, and instead of being the lowest bidder, they're charging more than they would have even normally charged because they're using Swept. And they're saying, hey, so you have to give them a reason to pay you more. And Swept is a really easy one because they can see that you're better managed. They're going to want to work with you as opposed to working with someone who is, working off pen and paper. So leverage that, like take advantage of that. And when you're out, charge more for your work. I can pretty much guarantee that you are not charging as much as that you want to, and there's times that you feel like you're working more than what you're being paid for. You're offering a better service than what they're paying for. So there are ways, create strategies, create that time to think about how you can actually go in and charge more. So decrease the time between purchases. So what I mean by that is think about a spring deep cleaning. We used to offer a deep cleaning in spring for everyone because it's part of society. We know that in spring we do deep cleanings in our homes, so we would offer a spring deep cleaning package to all of our clients, and we go in for a 5 to 10 hour cleaning depending on for most of the small contracts, and we'd sell them that, and they'd love that because we'd be doing all the sorts of things that we don't normally get to do day to day. But how can you decrease the time? Well, maybe you do a deep cleaning for every season. So there's the flu season, there's the holiday season, spring, summer. You can start to put packages together and go in and do more cleaning. So we actually bought these UV lights that you roll over the phone and over the computer keyboard that kills germs during flu season. So a lot of people took us up on that, and these are our existing clients. It was simply creating the space to come up with some ideas, writing an email, sending it, and following up with a call, and we increased our revenue. It was awesome. So increase opportunities to present an offer. So maybe you're going to spend time thinking about, are you going to do cold calling? Are you going to do Google AdWords? Are you going to hire a marketing agency? So I think it's a real shame what happens to people when they're busy running their business. They get taken advantage of. So I owned a construction company, and we were doing 7-figure. We were in the millions. Each year for our revenue, but we were very, very busy. And I had a partner, and he did not plan anything. He was always just running around in circles. And so I remember we had someone come in, a marketing agency, and they sold him I think it was a $35,000 annual package. And I said, what are we even getting here? And it wasn't great. And so what happened was he was just too busy to actually take time and figure out if this is an option. They had just showed up and sold it to us. And so we kept it for a year. It didn't work well. And the next year, I actually set time aside, and I had 4 or 5 different groups come in and tell us what they were going to be able to do for us. And then we picked which one we wanted. And we had actually more information on what each was offering for each price point, but we created the space to allow us to make good decisions and not just pick who's ever in front of us, right? I feel like it's kind of like growing your company. Sometimes I feel like it's like hiring cleaners. We don't dedicate enough time to it. We hire whoever's in front of us right now to fill in the job, and then we get burned when they don't show up 6 weeks later because they took another job. Hiring and working with marketing people and any kind of consultant is the exact same way. You have to, it's up to you to create the space and the time to educate yourself and what decisions you're going to make. And that's why blocking time, blocking revenue time, if you block an hour a day, you're not dealing with emails or anything else, you're dealing with this, and you're giving yourself the time and the space. So the next is improve conversions and speed from the time you do a quote to the time you win that client. And what we're seeing is people are using Swept to win contracts. But what else can you do? So I'm just giving you these 5 things. If you want to write those down, sell more to existing customers, increase the price of what you're selling, decrease the time between purchases, increase opportunities to present the offer, and improve conversions and speed from presentation to sale? Those are questions you can ask yourself. How can I do this? And you'll have a new list today. You'll have a totally different list tomorrow. Keep generating those ideas and go out and test them. You may find that nobody wants a flu season clean. Fine, that's okay. Tomorrow, when you're thinking about this, what else can it come up with? This, you might spend your hour just searching online your competitors and looking at what they're offering, looking at what people are offering in different markets. That's the beauty of being in a cleaning company. If you're not a national company, you can look at what someone's doing 5 states over, and R&D, rob and duplicate, create the same offer, create the same incentives. Like, the information for you to grow a successful cleaning company is available. What happens is most people don't create the space and the time to do it. So that is, the presentation. And one last quote is, most companies die of indigestion, not starvation. So meaning by that, most people don't die because their companies because they can't grow because there's not enough opportunities. Typically, there's so many opportunities, there's so many things you can do that you don't have a proper plan. My coach told me, and I truly believe this, you could give, a list of all the things that need to be done in your company. You could give it to 3 different business owners, and 2 of them would fail, and 1 of them would succeed. And it's only because it's the exact same task being completed, but it's the proper order. There's no point in growing your company if you can't, find the cleaners. There's no point in, trying to find a bunch of cleaners if you don't have the contracts. It's about balance and about when is the right time to do each function in your company.
So those are my tips and tricks on time management for someone in your role, and really someone for any role as a leader in a company. If you're looking for more resources on this, my team and I put together a lot of things for you to help in growing your sales, working on marketing, hiring, and retention. These are all really critical things that we feel like we've really nailed, and we're helping other people in the industry and want to help you. So scroll to the bottom, click the button, and you'll get a lot more resources. If you have any other questions, any comments, feel free to send them over our way. I'd love to chat with people in the industry about this, and so does my team. So wishing you great success as you grow your business.